This is a robbery for the Bills. They just signed a linebacker who has tons of NFL experience and understands the game perfectly. Buffalo's defense is built on discipline and toughness. Now they've added a guy who fits into that mold. That player is Shaq Thompson, who brings veteran awareness, playoff reps, and leadership for a bargain price. My name is Maeve Miller, and I'm a part of the Bills Digest team, so please subscribe to our Bills Digest YouTube channel for all latest updates during the offseason. First, I want to talk about his career. Notably, he has been on the Panthers for his entirety of his career and was originally drafted in 2015 in the first round. And at the time, he was drafted by Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, which is funny because now he's returning back to them. He was like a very notable player for the team and just for his like leadership and defensive style. He has the fourth all-time tackles for the Panthers, with that being 470. And I selected only like 5 years of his stats because they said he's been in the league for 13 seasons for the Panthers. And notably, his best season was in 2022. He played in 17 games with 78 solo tackles and 135 total tackles. And you can see after 2022, these stats dropped drastically because for most of his career, even as a rookie, he was playing in 14 games and he never got below that until his injury. His injuries include a fractured fibula in 2023 and a torn Achilles, like this tweet said. There were some worries that were brought up about his injuries. This says, if anyone's wondering around his health, he fractured his fibula in 2023, which is a freak injury, and missed last year with a torn Achilles. He's not an injury-prone player. He just had 2 freak injuries. And it's probably the position that can recover the best. So I think people were definitely bringing this up because the Bills have issues with injuries, and they've signed players that have injuries, like Joey Bosa, who people had warned the Bills about, and he's out already. So I think that definitely for fans, they are a little worried about that. But all in all, those, like he said, those were freak injuries. And he does bring a lot of positive things like experience, communication, and just leadership. For the Panthers, he was the on-field leader and had the green dots. So he was like kind of the playmaker for them. So I feel like it's just very exciting. I think something that's notable is that there are a lot of Buffalo Bills players that were originally Panthers, which include Shaq Thompson, Dane Jackson, Daquan Jones, Curtis Samuel, and Laviska Shenault Jr. So I think that's kind of a funny little thing, and there's a lot of like camaraderie maybe, they've played together, and some of them have played for McDermott before, so it's definitely something that's interesting. And I'm definitely excited to see what Thompson can do. He describes his defensive style on like a very wide variety. He says he's violent, downhill, playmaker, strength, but also he encourages others and he wants every player to like eat and get their time. So definitely excited to see what he does for the team. And I just want to talk about next, like why the Bills made this move. So I think something that's notable is that like the Bills did lose Tremaine Edmonds 2 seasons ago, and I think that's something that they're still kind of working on to replace because he was a very key player for the Bills defense, and I think right now their depth is just not that great. Obviously, that's why they're adding players like Thompson and they've drafted players, but I'll get into more of that depth chart later. All in all, this was a very cheap deal, which means it's more kind of low risk. It's only 1 year, so if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If it does, great, you can sign him for another year. And I think this just adds some more insurance for the Bills. Having another player in case one of their starters gets injured is always good, and there's just adds another layer of protection for them if there is an injury or inconsistency and bad performance. He can also rotate in against other players or be more of a flexible linebacker. And I just feel like his experience playing with McDermott and Beane is just something that really stands out and very unique since he's going back to a team that had both of those leaders. And he understands the defense system, which is very important, and Buffalo prides itself on that defense, and McDermott, I feel like, is very unique in that way. But I just think it's very cool that he got a chance to play for McDermott. It was only for 1 season, but he already could tell the kind of player or coach that McDermott was. In this quote, he said, "I always knew he'd be one hell of a head coach. Coach Sean McDermott is one of those guys that you just want to run through a wall for. He's always has energy. He's always positive." So I think that is just very like a good like sign. Thompson said he's excited to play for him and just excited to like get back and play with other guys that are Panthers. Something that was brought up is his age. Thompson is 31 years old, which acquiring a player at that age is not ideal. Like I said, he's put in 13 seasons, but I think he's not going to be a player that's going to be on the field every time. I think it's more about his experience, especially he's had time in the playoffs. I think it's just something that he can like help other like linebackers because we do have a lot of young players And I think being kind of a mentor for them and a like kind of a coach in a way will help the Bills be more successful in the future. So that leads me to my last point, which is the linebacker room right now. The Bills have a whole host of players, including Matt Milano, who's one of my favorite players for the Bills. He's elite when he's healthy, and I think he can be such a good player, but he is so injury prone that it's kind of hard to see in the last couple of years what kind of player he is. Sadly, his contract is coming to an end after the season, so I think this could be our last year with him. But I just think he's a very strong player, and he still ends up making those kind of like star player moves. Another notable player is Terrell Bernard. He kind of had a breakout season in 2023 with 143 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 4 forced fumbles. And I think Bernard and Milano will be their 2 starting players. I think they're kind of the best from the Bills' depth chart for the linebackers. Obviously, we'll see what happens, but I think those 2 you can count on to be starters. I'm excited to see what Bernard can do in the future because he did have that breakout season, and I think he just keeps on getting better and better. Dorian Williams is a second-year player who's definitely still developing, but I'm excited to see what he can do in the future. And then we have Joe Andreessen, who love him. He's a local guy. He grew up in Depew, right down the road from Orchard Park. And he's a second-year player, and I think he just needs more reps and more experience, which that'll just come with time. So I think someone like Thompson, yeah, he might not play all the time, but he just gives the Bills freedom to maybe ease Milano back a little bit if he is injury prone, and just protection against injury or bad performance. It's never a bad thing to have another player in your wheelhouse. And I think, like I said before, his main task might be like being a mentor for players like Williams or someone like Balin Spector, who is kind of fighting for a spot and maybe more of the special teams, but maybe in a few years or a season or 2, he can work his way up. So I'm definitely excited to see what Thompson can do. Yeah, he's not going to be a huge star or make flashy headlines, but I just think it's something that it's more of a quiet move that can just bring some more leadership, and it's never a bad thing when you're dealing with young linebackers in the depth chart. Thank you for watching, and once again, please subscribe to the Bills Digest YouTube channel, and go Bills.